Those are some fantastic points, Andrew. Next, we have collected a panel of some of UIT's brightest minds, a collection of people all with first-hand experience in tech education. And the panel will be moderated by none other than one of our own students. A stoic gentleman, he's fresh out of high school and has an amazing passion for computers and is incredibly talented with design. Freddie Willet, everybody.
Come down a little bit. There we go. Thank you, Ben. So our theme for the panel today is tech education in Cape Breton. Why learn here? And the first person we have on our panel is our very own executive, Mike Targett. We have Bobby Gregan, who is from Amherst, came here to learn at UIT. And we also have Spencer Gouthro, who just graduated from high school. So, Spencer, why did you choose UIT?
I chose UIT because, well, after I came out of high school, I was looking for some just tech industry related schooling, and CBU didn't really have much, actually. NSCC only has one web development course, and it's very specific. And UIT's class size was advertised as being really low, and I thought that was a huge advantage, so I can get to know the mentors better and have more one-on-one contact with the mentors and learn better. So, yeah, that's why I chose UIT.
Okay. Before you found out about UIT, what did you want to do?
It was a hard decision. I didn't really know what to do. I liked the tech, and I heard about UIT pretty early, actually. So it was like grade 10. So I didn't really think about what I was going to do after high school until I heard about UIT. So, yeah.
Okay. Bobby, what were you doing before UIT?
That's a good question, and thanks for having me here, Fred. I was pretty much just in sales. That's predominantly where I've spent most of my background is in sales. And yeah, I was just looking forward to, I've been the jack of all trades, and I was really looking to master it. And UIT has business and tech, and they go hand in hand together. And yeah, that was a great fit.
Right on. Do you have any plans after UIT?
I have lots of plans, and that's the great thing about organizations like this is that it gives you multiple options. So, there's definitely a few I have in mind, and as a class progresses, I can feel myself, gravitating towards more than the other. But I think that's a very open future with having this class under my belt.
Thanks. Mike, what were you doing before UIT?
I used to work at the marketing department at Cape Breton University, where I oversaw all things digital. Excuse me. Before that, I ran a web design company for 5 years. And before that, I managed a community center where we were doing a renewable energy retrofit of a community center in rural Cape Breton.
And how did you find your way into UIT?
Well, I guess because the combination of those 3 or 4 things, Gavin Uma, the founder of UIT, called me up one day and said, he told me about the concept of the program, and he said, I need somebody to run it who has, who's passionate about technology, education, and community economic development. And so you kind of pictured that as being like a Venn diagram, and I was right in the middle of it, so I jumped on board as soon as I could.
Right. I have some questions here for everyone. We'll start with Spencer and go down the table. So why should more people stay in Cape Breton as opposed to leaving?
Well, Cape Breton has a lot of potential to be a thriving tech community, and I think UIT is pretty much proof of that. And I think the more people staying here, the more programs like this will be made, and the better it'll become.
Thank you.
Same question?
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's a great question, Freddie. I think that globally you can see that a lot of people are shifting away from industrialization. And I think that really, like I say again, institutions like UIT help formate that base that will keep us competitive, all across the nation and all across globally as well. I think that you'll see a lot of people going from, blue collar jobs to something that's a little more stable in the tech industry. So I see that's where it's going. It's good that we're staying on top of these kind of institutions.
Can you repeat the question?
Why should more people stay in Cape Breton as opposed to leaving to learn?
Well, so first of all, I would say if someone wants to leave, they absolutely should, and they should do that by choice and not by necessity. And it's often the case that if somebody leaves, they get some experience in the world, they come back as a better person, and they're able to contribute to the community in ways that they may not have been able to do if it weren't for the fact that they left. That said, I don't think anyone should have to stay in Cape Breton if, again, it's not by choice. So what UIT is trying to accomplish with all the other organizations that are working along these lines, is to make Cape Breton a great choice, so that everyone who stays here stays because they want to, and everyone who comes here from elsewhere comes because it's an awesome opportunity. Some of the reasons why this is a great place, especially for starting a technology company or joining a technology company, is that all you need is a laptop and internet connection. We have awesome internet speeds, like some of the best in all of Canada. But at the same time, we also have really affordable housing because of the economic downturn that has been affecting the region for since 1967. But people who want to stay or come and do amazing things in a place that is drop dead gorgeous, 4 seasons worth of amazing environmental and adventure tourism kinds of things, and all you got to do is open up your laptop and connect to the internet, start a company. Can't go wrong.
Definitely. So starting with Spencer again, how could we get more people to stay? How could we incentivize these people to stay?
Just start some startups, create jobs, and just stay in Cape Breton. The more people stay here, the bigger it'll grow, and
Yeah, I'd agree with my colleague Spence. I think that, and again, institutions like this, if one of us even starts, a business, that's essentially adding to the growth to it, adds more incentive for people being here. And I think that in the long run, you might not see it in 1 year or 2 years, but, in a decade of programs like this or other coming out, even development boot camps, you'll see that institutions like UIT as a whole, Navigate and the rest will, create more growth here. And I think that's a great incentive to stay.
So incentivizing people to stay for what? So repeat the question again for me.
How could we get more people to stay? So the people that are leaving, how could we incentivize them to
Gotcha.
stay?
Okay, so a lot of people in the room and maybe watching online, is this streaming live? Okay. Would have been to the Startup Cape Breton event that we did about 2.5 years ago. And at the time, maybe Mercado, Heimdall, and Halifax Biomedical and Mabu were maybe the only startups that we would have been talking about, and certainly the only big, well-known technology companies were, in addition to them, were maybe Protocase and MediaSpark. But because of the momentum that we've been building over the last few years, now you have, I could name 6 startups that are growing really fast and are all hiring right now, like Docmaster and Arenda and Ubique and whatever Heimdall is now, and et cetera. And so the great thing that you have there is they're being supported by one another, right? If you want someone to move to a place like this, if there's only one place to work, if there's only one Protocase or one Mercado, if the company either fails or if that employee is not a good fit, they kind of got to go back to wherever they came from, right? Because there's no other places to move around. And so because of the momentum that the startup community and the ecosystem as a whole has been building up over the last couple of years, you have things like Navigate Startup House and like the Island Sandbox and the Cape Breton Island Futures Fund and InnovaCorp's Spark investment competition, like all these things that are making it easier for these companies to start, to stay, and to grow. And so those opportunities are available to anyone who wants to come take advantage of those.
Thank you. So if you weren't in Cape Breton, where would you go?
I would go, probably stay in Canada. I would
Mhm.
like to stay in Canada. Probably somewhere out west just to see what it looks like. I like the big cities. Yeah. Uh, yeah. Just something like BC or something. Vancouver.
Nice spot.
Well, that's a good question as well. I think that I am a maritimer, and I grew up on the border, so I don't speak that much French. But for me, it would have to be in the Maritimes, and I would say probably either Moncton or the biggest city that we have here would be Halifax. I'm glad that I'm in Sydney, and but I would still have to say if I wasn't here, it would be between those two for sure.
If you had asked me this question last year, I would have said Austin, Texas, because it's one of the few places that I've actually been outside of Canada, and I really liked how it's very walkable, it's super hip, but I mean I wouldn't go anywhere near that country right now. So actually, I have no idea how to answer that question.
Do you say Texas is really hip?
Austin, Texas is hip.
Okay. Reckon you're right.
And so that's all the questions that I have. I could take any questions from the audience if anyone has anything.
Just for the panel as a whole, what else would you like to see happening around here?
So what else would you like to see happening around here?
Just more choices in education, really. Like, for me, it's just I have CBU and SCC, and I can't really see anything else after UIT because I'm continuing to continue my education. So yeah, just more education, really.
Well, if you're talking about tech education, I would say that, I would like, maybe introduced at a younger age. Maybe instead of, having shop, we would have, maybe an HTML or a boot camp class. If you're saying that more here, I agree with Mike that, there is more diversity than there has been. But I think that there's definitely should be some more, and I think that's one of the reasons why we're here, is to add a little more diversity into the community. So that's pretty much.
So as executive director of UIT Startup Immersion, I would absolutely love to see more UITs. So currently the program is a combination of technology and entrepreneurship, but we only do so much design, and we only do so much product development. I would love to be able to grow this program so that there were various streams, so that they wouldn't be completely separated from one another, because you still want to have the interactions like we do in the current class between people who are more interested in business or more interested in technology. But it would be amazing to get to the point where we had 50 students and 10 of them were in the design stream, the UX stream, and 10 of them were in the specifically business stream. All of them would be thinking entrepreneurially and thinking about product as opposed to just theory, like what Andrew was saying. But to be able to specialize more, and to be able to have that sort of gold standard that we, I think, currently have at UIT, but in each of those various things that we need to grow lots of companies, especially bigger companies.
So, like, in that kind of case, would you want, like, UIT to be, like, a one-year specialization, and then maybe, like, a next year do, like, you say, oh, okay, we did everything well-rounded, and then maybe next year you'd want to be in design?
It's a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Solve that problem for us. Thank you.
No problem. Interesting.
Yes?
Mr. Chair, as we consider opportunities for the panel and panelists in the future, I'm trying to understand what it is that motivates them, whether it's a desire to get rich, a desire to have their inventions seen around the world. So I guess my question is, what makes the panelists want to get out of bed in the morning?
Spencer?
Can you repeat the question?
Sure. What makes you want to get out of bed in the morning? What motivates you?
Well, I just want to do something I like doing, really. And like computers, I've been on computers for quite a long time, so I think I'm good at them. And yeah, there's nothing else really gains my attention other than just tech. So yeah, I just want to have a career in tech, whether it be a 9-to-5 job, in an office, just something good, something with tech.
Lately, for me, it's been shoveling. But no, I like the challenge here at UIT. For me, it's been a little bit longer than I like to admit for me being in school. And for me, it's definitely a little bit of a culture shock and a little bit of a challenge, which I enjoy. You know, each day is something different, and that really for me is what's the biggest thing I like to have here is the challenge, and the people here are great too. You know, they're very supportive. It's different from the norm, which is, like I said, me being out of school is what I appreciate the most. So.
Well, since I run a nonprofit, it's definitely not getting rich, but just being able to do something that creates opportunity for others who want to have a creative career. Even though, you know, we're not going to get rich running UIT, we get to do very creative things on a regular basis. Like, you know, this is basically an exam for the curriculum that you were teaching, and this is not usually how, you know, school works. But I think this is another good example of learning by doing. This is my job. This is super fun. That's what gets me out of bed every morning. Is just like the things that get all of them out of bed every morning is what gets me out of bed to come and watch.
Didn't realize this was the exam.
You know what I mean.
Yeah, well, now I do.
Well,
I have one more question, and
sure.
we're here to talk about opportunities and so on. Say if we're able to provide opportunities for learning and the development of this sector in Cape Breton, what would it look like 5 years from now? What would Cape Breton look like if you are able to advance these goals that you're describing and talking about today?
What would Cape Breton look like 5 years from now if we achieved all of our goals we talked about today?
Well, that's a big question. I'd like to say Silicon Valley, but it's just, I just want more stuff here. It seems like a few years ago, I always thought I'd move out of Cape Breton. But now with UIT, I like being here. And I'm working at PvP Gamers Dungeon, which is a lovely job. And yeah, I never thought I'd have that stuff would be around here. So yeah, I know it's growing, so just gonna get bigger.
Self-driving cars. We've talked about that a lot. No, I like to see a very diverse, you know, kind of market that we have. I think that you know, there's a lot of stuff that you don't really realize that's going on, and I didn't realize that were going on, especially in places like this. That there is a lot more going on underneath the hood. Like, you know, we have a lot of great companies that are starting upstairs. I think they started with coffee. We just instituted today. What is it? Coffee. That George and them are doing? Coffee emergency, like great idea, you know, and stuff like that is like little things that makes up the whole, and you just see like a huge diversity going on, and I'd like to see, you know, more of that being made public in the next 5 years, and just people realizing and being awarded for that.
Well, I think that small towns often make the mistake of trying to compete with maybe the larger towns that are nearby, or the very, very large cities that are nowhere near them, like Silicon Valley. Actually, we had the Silicon Island building over here 20 years ago in Cape Breton, which is now occupied by a government organization, a very awesome government organization, which partly funded what we're doing here, but it's not full of entrepreneurs anymore. What I think this place would look like in 5 years if we kept doing what we're doing and we get it right is that it will look just more and more like itself. Like, it will look unique and not feel like it needs to compete with Halifax or Austin, Texas, or wherever, because those places, they don't compete with one another. They try to become something special. Like what I was saying at the beginning about you can start a tech company anywhere, including here. You can start a tech company anywhere. So we can't just say, oh, we have fast internet and affordable housing, because lots of places can say that. We can't just say that we have, you know, beautiful scenery, because lots of places can say that. Can't just say that we have an amazing arts and culture scene, because lots of places can say that. Nor even that we have an amazingly supportive ecosystem for the tech startup scene right now, because lots of places can say that. But not that many places can say all those things at the same time, right? And so if we can find the things that make us unique, whether it's in the arts and culture scene, which Cape Breton is famous for, and build upon that so that Cape Breton becomes, you know, Nashville East or whatever it is, then if the artists and the entrepreneurs are leading the way, then this is just going to continue to be a, you know, amazingly vibrant and always changing, dynamic, and diverse kind of a place that everyone wants to be in.
Yeah, and I think that.
But hopefully not everyone, because like, the thing about a small town is it only needs to work for 100,000 people, or well, 40,000 people in the case of Sydney. It's 100,000 in CBRM. It doesn't need to work for everyone. It just needs to work for the critical mass that require it to, continue to thrive.
Yeah, and I agree. Like, we make up 15% of the population here, and over 60% is in Halifax. What makes us us isn't essentially, having to compete with them on that level. And both you guys mentioned about Silicon Valley, and realistically, like in America, they only account for 8% of the coders. If you're slinging JavaScript 40 hours a week at a local business, that's still just as great and just as impressive. And I think that's what we add to it, and what hopefully we'll bring to the table.
Nobody else? All right. Well, thank you very much to our panelists. Big round of applause for them.